hotly watched. So here to break it all down is Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. Welcome, Congressman.
Hey, Essie. What's up?
Oh, not much. So a source familiar with the president's speech is teasing that he will talk about North Korea in a, quote, eye-opening, strong, and serious way. Do you think that means Rocket Man, jabs, or something more substantive?
I think more substantive. I think it'll be a pretty substantive speech. And I think, I don't have any knowledge about this, but I think that what he's going to speak about is, I think, lay out what really is at stake in North Korea. Lay out how far they've come in just a short amount of time. The fact that this goes all the way back to, remember, in 1994, President Clinton was getting ready, frankly, to bomb North Korea, or at least that those plans were being drawn up when Jimmy Carter miraculously appeared in North Korea with a deal. And so I think it'll be laying out the timeline of how we got here and, frankly, the consequences of what happens if they're allowed to get a nuclear weapon, a deliverable nuclear weapon. And that is, you have to allow Iran to get it now. The Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty is basically dead. So I think if he outlines that, it'll be great for the American people to hear.
Great, agreed. Not sure that would qualify as eye-opening, but we'll see. Secretary of State Tillerson recently announced a long-term military presence in Syria. Now, I've been hounding the White House comm shop all week for word on whether Syria will be a focus tonight. They wouldn't say. But should Trump use tonight's platform to expand on our plans in the region?
I think you should use tonight's platform to talk about what our plans are in the region. With, post-ISIS Syria, the question is, do we just leave? In which case, you'd have another ISIS vacuum come in, or you'd have strong men fill that, which actually leads to ISIS in the long run anyway, because people rebel against that dictatorship, and they do it through ISIS and through Al-Qaeda. And so I think if I was the president tonight, I would talk about the long-term strategic interest in Syria. We're not looking to invade the country. We're not looking to put 200,000 troops in there. But there is an interest in assuring that we don't have to face this ISIS threat, at least out of Syria again. So I think if you can lay that out, look, it's very complicated. I mean, it would take an hour show to even begin to scratch the surface of it.
Right.
But at least to allow the American people to hear a little of what's going on and the reason that we're there in the first place.
Yeah, and from his own mouth. I mean, I remember when Tillerson made the statement very recently at Stanford. There's a lot in there. There's prolonged presence. There's an interest in ousting Assad and a post-Assad Syria. There's an interest in returning Syrian refugees to Syria, how that happens. I mean, isn't it important that the president use this opportunity to say with his own voice what he wants in that region?
I think so, because a lot of times you get different. This isn't unique only for Trump, but for the president, you get different messages out of the administration. Secretary Tillerson on the one hand, and somebody else may say something conflicting to that. It's what happens in a big government. Yeah. But the two biggest issues in Syria that he needs to lay out is, again, preventing the return of ISIS, but also understanding that Iran is trying to set up a hegemony in Syria, and really has, and that would extend that Shia crescent all the way to our ally in Israel, to stabilizing Lebanon and other places. And there is a reason for us to maintain a presence there, even if just to be a blocking position to prevent Iran from being able to have that land bridge.
Right. Okay, let's talk about this Devin Nunes memo. Just a few hours ago, Speaker of the House Paul Ryan declared, quote, "I think we should disclose all this stuff. I think sources and methods we've got to protect. No two ways about it, for sure, 100%. But I think disclosure is the way to go. It's the best disinfectant. And I think we need to disclose. That brings us accountability. That brings us transparency. That helps us clean up any problem we have with DOJ and FBI." So Congressman, sources are telling CNN that President Trump is echoing those sentiments, allegedly telling aides that he wants the memo to be released, but not before tonight's address. So you've read it. Do you agree with the president and the speaker that it should be released?
I think we've gotten far enough down the road that, I mean, I've seen people, frankly, on some of the television shows, in essence, almost talk about what's in it without officially saying it. So I think it does need released. I think we need to be careful, though, on a couple of things. I think, on the one end, some people are saying this is going to be the thing that blows the lid off every investigation ever. And there are some people saying there's nothing to it. The answer is somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
And I think once people can read it, they can make that judgment for themselves, which is, look, there's something separate about what will be in this, although I'm always hesitant to even mention the memo because of the classified nature of it, versus what's going on in the Mueller investigation. And so I think when people read it, they'll be able to come to a conclusion. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be groundbreaking or not. We'll see.
Well, yeah, and Paul Ryan tried to make that distinction that we should look at this separately from the Russia investigation. But Explain to me why releasing the Republican staff memo but not the Democrats' rebuttal is in the best service of transparency.
Well, there's some details of that I got to get a grip on, but basically, from what I understand, the Democrats just presented their memo. In fact, the Intelligence Committee voted to release it, but they haven't even been able to read it yet. Now it is available, I guess. I can go potentially read it, I hear, in the vault. But this thing just came out. And so from what I understand, and again, not being on the committee, the Democrats are saying, hey, we have a counter memo, release that memo. We've said, sure, we'll release that too. But it literally just was created. So it's not near as far down the line as this one has been, but I'd say release them all then. You know, more the merrier, I guess.
Okay, well, I guess you're next headed to the vault to do some reading.
Guess
Thanks,
so.
Congressman. Appreciate it.
Take care.